Okay, we're putting this first ever video together to give you some tips and pointers as you are about to enter the semifinals. I'm here with Anthony Nieto, who is the recording engineer at Mud Rock Studios, and we're coming to you from Mud Rock Studios. So, hello.
Hello. How
You know, one of the things that you were a judge at 2 of the 4 locations.
Mm-hmm.
Because no, 3.
I did them all.
No, 2.
2, yeah.
2. You were at 2 of the 4 locations, and so when you're judging, tell me 1 or 2 of the things that you're looking for.
I guess the first thing would be preparedness. I saw a lot of contestants that had chosen songs that they say they had sung for a long time, and they're on stage and they forget the words and they forget when it starts, and I don't know if it's nerves or what the whole issue is, but you need to be prepared and kind of get over, I don't say get over the stage fright, but kind of rise to the occasion.
Well, and that was one of the things that we, for another project, talked about when I was here last, was that people were coming into the recording studio like, oh, I just picked this song last week.
Yeah.
You know, like, why would you do that? Why would you pick a brand new song to showcase your talents?
I think sometimes they're, in a good way, a good reason to maybe try new songs is to maybe challenge yourself or step outside of the box. And I understand a lot of time taking that risk kind of can pay off. But I really feel like when it comes to entertainment, practice makes perfect. And you can do something for years and years and years and get really good at it. It's really difficult to try something new and be ready for it within a week, or a month or whatever the time frame is. I think a lot of people in the industry, whether they're musicians or actors or things, they're good at what they do because they've been consistent over a long period of time, instead of, oh, I got to get this going now.
Well, and if they do pick a new song, it should be a song that they, well, let's talk about song choice.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And because the most important thing that you can do to help yourself or to hurt yourself before going into a competition is your song choice. One of the things I think that hurt somebody in the preliminaries is they picked a song outside what I would consider their normal genre or their perception. And so before you pick a song, decide what your style is, what your brand is, who you are as an act, and be consistent with that. If you are a country act, then sing a country song. If you're a rock and roll act, don't impress us by doing an aria from a Broadway Lloyd Webber show, because those little surprises you think pay off, but they actually work against you. When you're big, maybe you can break out of that mold, but you would never. Let's see. I'll use Britney Spears as an example. You're never going to see Britney Spears go and sing some type of country music. She knows what her audience wants and what her audience expects, and she dresses and she works that part. And so all these artists, even though they're different and put their stamp on stuff, they, Tina Turner, Elvis, all of them know what their niche is.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that I believe about singers is a good singer can sing anything. It's not just, oh, well, I only sound good if I do this. I think it's good, as a singer, if I gave you a piece of music, whether it was country or R&B, if you practice it, you should be able to sing it good. But as far as making it yours, I think that's where you really kind of have to find your niche. And, I know there's some contestants that they're all about Alicia Keys or Beyonce, and they'll, you give them a piece and they kill it. And they can also sing, whether it's Carrie Underwood. I mean, when you do a song like Whitney Houston or, Aretha Franklin or anything like this, they can probably do a Carrie Underwood song or a Taylor Swift song, no problem, because vocally they're able to. But it's not as real when they're doing a Taylor Swift song. There's not the connection. You can tell something doesn't sit right, something doesn't feel right. So I think, regardless of how talented you are, your song selection is important, because that's how everybody's going to identify you.
And there's a difference between, let's bring up this point, there's a difference between making a song your own and mimicking. Because we find, especially with karaoke tracks, a lot of people try to mimic the original singer and think they're doing a great job because they've done that.
Yeah, and there's only been an artist or two that I've ever seen that try to mimic a song and get fairly close. I've never seen somebody really, man, they sounded just like her, just as good. And usually it's the people that kind of make it their own or add their own little, whether it's sparkle or grit or dirt or style to it, that can, really draw somebody in. But when you're trying to do it exactly like the way the artist did it, if you're trying to do a Rihanna song or, an Elvis Presley song, they were good because they knew how to always make it their own. I mean, Elvis Presley covered most everybody else's songs before he did it, but he's known more for those songs than the original artist that did it because he really knew how to make it his own. He interpreted it in a way that he was able to relate it to, say, the general public. And I said this last year about dancers. What I like about dancers is you give them all the same piece of music to learn to dance to, but every single one of them will dance differently. It's because they interpret it different. And dance seems to be so much more expressive when it comes to something like that. And it kind of surprises me that artists hear a song and they just interpret it the way they hear it. It's step out of the box. And that's something about the dancers that I know that we have coming in. That's what I look forward to, is you really never know what to expect on that level, because dancers are very theatrical. They're about the emotions and the actions, and just to see how they hear the music. You physically can see how they express it. So I look forward to some of that too this year. But
and one thing that I would tell you, when you're selecting your song, is not to select a song that's been overdone. Because if I never, after 5 years, hear it last again, I would be perfectly happy. But I've heard some people really, well, I'll use Sarai, because she sang it last year and she killed it, and I thought it was great. And we've heard it twice this year already. But of all the thousands and thousands of songs out there, do something different. The audience will decide in the semifinals. Now, judges love original music, but audiences want to hear something that they can connect to, but don't do something that's been overdone. Adele's another one, where even if you're going into an audition for, say, America's Got Talent, they list songs that they don't want to hear because everybody has done them. And so if you've heard somebody else do that 100 times in karaoke places or competitions, don't do that song. There's a wonderful standards back from the day, from the 40s, the 50s, the 60s, that are very familiar, that people, okay, this is my opinion because you may disagree here in a second, that are wonderful songs. So if you want to do something like At Last, there is The Man That Got Away that Judy Garland did, that is that same type of gut-wrenching, belting out drama there in that song. And so there's other songs like Billie Holiday songs that have that same type of dynamic but aren't overdone, and the audience will also be familiar.
Yeah, and I was thinking about like the songs that last, things that people have done a lot. I like when I hear a contestant do a song that I'm not sure if it's an original or not, because it's not the song number 1, 2, or 3 off the CD. It can still be a mainstream artist, or if you want to even go as classic to old mainstream like Etta James or something. A lot of their songs sound like At Last, or have that same vibe or that same feel. Just pick a different one.
Right.
This is basically what you're saying. So do some research. It's not difficult to find a new song that sounds the same. Especially in popular music today, a lot of it's looped from music back then anyways. Music. What I like is when I haven't heard a song at all before, and it just draws me in. And I go home and I end up Googling or looking up the artist or who did that song or who did this. So is bring multiple CDs of the same song you're going to do. And I've seen this last year and this year. You bring one CD that has the one song that you have, it doesn't work, and you can't use it. Burn that on 2 or 3 CDs in different computers if you have to, if it's the burner issue. Bring backup songs 2 or 3, because everybody's like, well, I'm singing this a cappella because this other girl's already sang it. You should have, you honestly should have 6 new songs at every competition that you can do that someone doesn't have. And spend enough time to think about what songs do I do? If it's an artist like Beyonce or anybody, their set when they go ready to go play on stage, they don't have one or two songs. That any artist, any local artist doesn't have a set where they're going to entertain and be ready with a couple of songs and that's it. They have their backup songs, especially if it's festivals that artists decide to go play at. Chances of somebody else covering the same song that you did is pretty much always going to happen. So you need to have multiple backups of songs that you can do and still be your A-list, per se, of good song choices.
Well, and it's interesting you said that because coming up Saturday is a chance where people get to sing two songs for your old work as their expo.
Oh, that's right.
Right, and so a number of contestants, Lauren, Stephanie, both Stephanies actually, Brandon, Denzel, and so a number of contestants are going to practice out their songs there. And so it's nice to practice in front of a live audience. And I think any of these people who are taking advantage of that will have a little, just a little step up when it comes to on the 21st. So once you've decided what song, going back to practice for people, if you've selected your song and you've practiced by yourself
in front of the mirror at least,
well, or film yourself or in front of the mirror,
yeah.
you need to rethink. So, don't, because I would never play a musical instrument like, I'm just going to go out there and do it without any practice. It would be really, really bad. So, practice. Stage presence. Some of the common things that we see is that people hold the mic in a weird way. And so that's a question I have for you because you've been out on the road. Why do people like to hold the mic right in front of their face?
Using a microphone is much like, how can I say it without sounding nerdy? It's it's how you control the dynamic or your volume. If it's a subtle piece and it's the beginning of an Alicia Keys song and it's real close and you don't have to belt it, go ahead and bring it close. Don't lick the microphone per se, but be close enough to where that dynamic, comes through and that emotion follows through. And then when you're singing louder, back it away from your mouth. That way it's not just quiet, sounds good here, and then you sing and everybody on the audience is covering their ears because it's piercing. It's too loud. That's something that you just have to practice with as far as mic technique, on learning really how to hear yourself. Don't just leave it in one place. Don't leave it too far. There's contestants that had it way back here the whole time, and it's pointless, and vice versa. The people that had the microphone on the whole time, and it was just
and it's funny because we've been to I've been to all 4 locations, and you've been to 2, and one of the things you have to prepare for is that you might wind up in a place that has a horrible sound system, and so you just have to wing through it because and we've done that because we've wound up in places with horrible sound systems where somebody's holding the mic up here and it's so amplified that there's not just feedback but you can't make out the words they're saying.
Yeah, and that's normal whether it's any function. You could be at a huge stadium arena opening for who knows who, and there will be sound problems.
Can I open for the Rolling Stones?
We'll give them a call.
Okay. That would be my dream. I don't know what I'd do. And so that's one of the common things. The second thing, and that we bring up a lot, is that people like to close their eyes while they sing.
I think it's cool to a certain point if you're going to get into it and you're kind of feeling it and you decide to close your eyes. But if you do it for the entire 4-minute song, you really lose that ability to connect with somebody. It's like if you're talking to somebody, you want them to look you in the eye, you want them to really connect with you. You want to know that they're listening to you and that they're hearing you. Go ahead and find some people in the audience. Pick a round, focus on somebody for about 5-6 seconds. Move your eyes to the opposite side. Move your eyes to the middle. If you feel like you know that part in the song that you always love to close your eyes on, go ahead, and at that point, you've made enough eye contact with everybody to draw them in, so when you close your eyes, they're connecting with you. It really kind of helps the performance just grow after that point. But just not the whole time, basically, either,
And then there's 2 other things about stage presence we'll talk about. The next one is the mic stand is here, and I'm not going to let go. if the ship is, it doesn't matter. The ship can sink. I'm still going to hold on to the mic stand. It's my lifeline. And so, how do you get rid of these security blankets?
Really, I think a lot of that is just some time and getting used to it. I've been a musician for a long time, and I've still played a few shows where I've been kind of nervous going up. Or the best thing to do is just sink or swim. You got to go. You have to do it, and you have to get over the insecurities, or at least not let somebody know that you have them. The confidence is everything. If they know you're confident and you're not holding onto the mic stand and twirling your hair on stage or hands in your pocket the whole time, people can read that. Even if you have to act, and think of it as an act, and it is acting.
Right.
Part of singing is acting and kind of conveying not just lyrically or musically the song, but the emotion. Everybody's watching it. It's on your face. It's on your body.
If you're giggling in the songs about how you killed your lover, I'm not gonna believe it.
Yeah, and we've had that. We had a girl last year who sung a love song about somebody that she was losing, and the whole time she's smiling and she's like looking at me and looking at the other people, and I was like, it made no sense.
Well,
yeah.
Unless you really hated her lover and wanted him to. The thing about the stage presence and about your song choice is that there is 28 contestants. And so you want to stand out, you want to be unique, because as we get later in the show, if everybody and their brother and their sister have sung a ballad, because for some reason when you get up there, everybody wants to do a ballad, it's harder to keep people's attention. And so when you're, say, number 17 or number 24, I think if you pick something more upbeat, you're tending to get the audience more on your side than if they hear a ballad for the 20th time.
It's difficult, and I've had some contestants tell me that they choose ballads because it showcases their vocals.
Right.
And I understand that, and I think there's fast songs that can still do that too. And a lot of times I notice ballad singers, their character and their personality is very, say, ballady. You just hang around there. And people that choose faster song, their character and their personality is very different, whether it's energetic or just more dynamic and theatrical for everything they do. A lot of that is kind of how an audience can get to know you. So if you're going to do a ballad, I think be careful. It's hard to win with a ballad. It's hard to do a lot. Even on the record charts, only 90% of the songs that are on the number one in the top 100 are fast songs. That shows that only 10% out of millions of songs are
ballads.
Are ballads.
Well, because even on the radio, there's only what's a popular ballad that we've had? Like, I'll go. Celine Dion's probably the last really ballad person who has, real successful career on the radio. But there's only so many times I can hear the theme song of Titanic without hitting the button somewhere else. Like, I'm glad your heart will go on, but
not right now.
No.
If it's one that somebody else has done, like At Last again, I'm gonna start docking points just for doing At Last. I'm with that one. I don't care how good you sing.
Well, if you can't be any more original than that, if you're going to sing a ballad and you can make it your own, then do it. But if you're definitely later part of the show, I've been to every show we've ever done, and people get restless because their person that they've come to see is already sang. They don't care really about anybody else sometimes. And so you're fighting that same game. As the show progresses, these people's attention span has moved on. They wish they were home on Facebook, or they're probably on Facebook in the audience, and they're not paying you any attention. So you have to grab that attention back. You have to deserve that attention. And so through a ballad, it's kind of difficult.
Competition like this, if I just have to sit there and watch you, what am I going to watch?
Right.
And especially if I've been there and it's 3 hours into the night and we still have another hour and a half to go, and I get 7 ballads in a row and you're the 7th person singing a ballad, chances are I'm going to fall asleep. It's difficult. So,
like, please no more Whitney Houston. This is the Whitney Houston tribute show. The last thing on Stage Presence I want to talk about are those people who pick songs that have a large chunk of time where nobody's singing and they're just kind of standing there.
I almost want to just say, unless you absolutely know what you're doing, don't do that. There's a killer. There was a guy last year, Patrick.
Uh-huh.
and his voice was, that guy could sing. And I wish he would have been back this year.
Yeah, so do I. That if Patrick sees that, yes. I tried.
Yeah. One of the last songs he did had, a good 30 to 45 to maybe a minute long of just music, and he just stood there. I don't know what he could, and at that length, how much can you really do? If it's a small 10-second or something, maybe there's something you could do, kind of keep the attention. But for those long instrumental pieces in the beginning, I almost feel like those songs shouldn't even be karaoke songs anymore. It just becomes awesome.
And that's just...
And I think the even more difficult thing than to stand there sometimes is coming up with something to do without feeling like it's being forced or looking unoriginal or looking boring or looking silly. You have to find something to do in that time that's cool, per se,
Mm-hmm.
That really just fits. And that's even more difficult than standing there, which is why people end up standing there, because they know that's the challenging part. It's just figuring out something to do.
So if you're going to pick a song like that, make sure that you know what to do, and it looks natural. That's going back to practice. Now we've talked about song selection. We talked about stage presence. Now, as far as performance, one of the things that you said to a number of people were that they were holding back. That there's a lot of difference between singing at home or singing in the studio and a live performance. Do you want to explain?
And actually, even in the studio, and being in the studio is kind of where I've learned that it's when they hold back or they're scared to go for it that we end up spending more time on trying to cover it or get it nailed. Confidence is everything in this game, in business and life even. You have to have confidence if you want somebody to take you serious or if you're really going to go for it. And if you can just kind of have the confidence to say, I'm going to do it. The contestant that we had this last, at the last preliminary, the one I was telling you about, Joaquin,
Mm-hmm.
he was the most entertaining one there for me. I've heard more people talk about him than anybody else, and he was entertaining, and he didn't hold back, and he was fun, and he always had a smile, and his song doing Maroon 5, that was a tough piece, but that was a good song choice even for him. It was entertaining. It was him not holding back, and really kind of what took him to being remembered,
Mm-hmm.
To the next level. And I wish, personally, I liked Joaquin, and I wish he could have made it to the next round or something. But that's kind of going to be what's going to set apart from the people that are going to win the finals or get to the next step is how much you're going to hold back, because he had the stage presence nailed down. Even before he went on stage, I found him, personable and funny. When it comes to stages where you really have to practice more for the stage, and in the studio, what makes the studio so intense is that there's money behind it. It's, if you go do a gig somewhere, sometimes you may not get paid at all, and sometimes you may make some money, but you practice to get a good performance. In the studio, if you don't get the performance good, it's going to cost you.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to cost you money, and I understand why people get the red light fever when they're in here, and we're recording, and it just kind of falls, and that's kind of something that to where being in the studio though, you learn the more that you come back. Even for people that have been in the studio, I always tell them their most expensive project's their first one. Only because they don't know what to expect, and they have nerves, and they're nervous, and a lot of that still translates to the stages. It's their first time on the stage, and they don't know what to do, and they don't know how the audience is going to respond, and if their mom's watching, or if a friend watches, or someone's going to put on Facebook, or this, or someone's going to comment, and too many of these thoughts get in your head that honestly most of them won't ever happen. People are nervous because they're scared they'll be, sometimes made fun of or humiliated, and they're worried that they're not going to do it, or do well. And I think as an artist, you have to just, almost like, and I'll use Lady Gaga. She doesn't care what anybody thinks, and she's bold, and she's gonna do it her way, and that's it, and she has confidence. I feel it takes a lot of confidence to kind of step out and do that.
Well, yeah, anybody could wear her outfits has a whole lot of confidence. One of the things I told a contestant this week, because they saw another contestant or potential contestant saw the list and I don't want to sing against that person because that person's so good. And so I told them, if you're always worried, that somebody else is better than you are, then you're never going to do anything. And so,
And I think the answer to that though is someone is always better than you. Always. It doesn't matter if you're the best drummer or guitar player. And it's funny to say, well, if you're the best in the whole world, or that means you're the best. No, that doesn't exist. Somebody's always better than you. But that's irrelevant. That doesn't matter. That doesn't get you to the next step.
no, because you can't think about that.
Yeah, you can't, because the problem there is you put all your focus onto what they're doing and how good they are, and you forget that you have potential, that you have room to grow, that you have talent, and that you have passion, that you have a heart, and that you have a good image, and that you're young, and that you're working hard. I see a lot of people with natural talent that have great voices that don't do anything. And I see people that come into the studio or have worked with people in the studio that may not be as naturally talented, but I've seen them do more with their career because of what they put into it. Their focus isn't on, well, I have to be bigger than this artist. That doesn't matter. They're just like, that's what I love to do, that's all I'm going to do, and I'm going to do it. And it's so much about perspective and how you handle the situation inside your head. It's a mental game. I don't say things for things to become negative or taken the wrong way, but I learned this a long time ago. If someone says something that you feel negative, turn it into a positive and turn it into constructive criticism. Oh, well, he said I didn't do this and I was this or this. You know what? I don't care. I'm going to take it whether he was right or not, see if I can focus, positive time energy, get better at that so he's not going to say it again. And I went through different studios going through those situations where, no, you're not good, or you're not this, or you're not that, and you're not that. And my whole point was, well, maybe not yet. Doesn't mean I'm not.
Because if you can't take rejection, then this is
the
wrong.
Well, this is
yeah.
the wrong. If and there's people that I feel that I know are doing this, for fun or for whatever. But I also know there's contestants that this is for them more than that. This is just as big as opportunity as anything else. So again, it's a mental issue or mentality.
So let's talk about the finals, because the finals are broken up into two parts. One is the judge part where you select the song, and so Anthony will be one of the judges. And then sitting next to Anthony, of course, will be Mary Wilson of the Supremes. Are you excited about that?
Yeah, very.
And so if you're intimidated now by you, can you imagine? So nerves will probably be a big thing, because I think I'll be nervous or I'll be drunk, and most of you are not 21, so you can't do that. And so how would you overcome your nerves by singing to somebody who is famous?
I think for me, the thing I've learned is I still do what I do because I do it for me. I do it because it's how I function. That's how I am as a person. When I play guitar or I'm performing on stage, or whether I'm playing with a band, or whatever the situation is, I want to entertain and I want people to enjoy it. But I really only do it for me. I do it because that's what makes me feel as a person. That's what makes me feel whole. That's how I function,
And it's once again going back to what you were saying, where the focus is on you and not what other people are doing.
Exactly. It's this whole competitions or anything in life, if it's a life lesson, it's all a mental game. It's all based on perception, how you see things, how you look at things, whether you want to make them positive or see the bad in everything. And a lot of this, you just kind of see through in somebody's character or things, but on stage, it's going to be the confidence, if you mess up, like we saw some artists that, I forgot, one of the boys messed up at this last competition. And even when the judges commented, nobody even commented about the mistake, because he just kept going. He sang good. Everybody was impressed. And we're like, cool. You don't notice those things. And recovery is so important. It's what makes, an amateur different from a pro. Because you can see a tennis player play a professional match, and they're consistently good. But if they mess up, their recovery's quick. I mean, it's instantaneous.
The other part will be a song selection from Motown, the 25 songs that are already on the West Texas Talent channel. And the night of the semifinals, after the finalists are picked, I will select one of these songs for you. Now, you do have the opportunity right now to select 3 of those 25 as your favorite. So really bring in your A game, because not just one song, your anthem, but a song that you just learned in 2 weeks. So
I think that at that point, experience, and that's kind of how you can tell who's taking it serious and who's not. Because given the prize and everything, some people want it more than others, you know. And I want to see somebody that really wants it kind of walk away with something.
Would
Really
be nice,
appreciate
yes.
It's
Because
you know,
Josh, okay, Josh has been a great winner this year
Mhm.
because he's done, he's been judging, and any opportunity that he's got to perform as the winner, he's been there. So I mean, there's my shout out to Josh. And so I'd like to have somebody like that to
And-
carry on the.
And Josh's attitude, I feel, whether he would have won or not, his attitude would have stayed the same. Attitude is everything. Attitude is everything. What Josh is, and Josh has been in the studio. I've got to play with Josh and work with Josh, and between his attitude and his talent and what he wants to do professionally, and his dreams or goals, all that is relevant. And that's a stepping stone to where he wants to go next or what he wants to do. And I'd like to see another artist that comes in and can win it and be humble and still help and want to be part of something and not just, oh well, I'm out. It makes it worth it too. And that's why I enjoy doing this. Is I like to work with people that inspire me. I like to work with people that have the passion and that are doing it because they love to do it, and it's about the music or the entertainment.
Well, we will know very soon because it's about a month away from the finals. The semifinals are in 3 weeks. And so I hope these tips have helped you and provided you with a little bit of insight. Between now and next Monday, your assignment is these 3 things. 1, select your song and send in your song choice. And no, we won't have 2 people singing the same song, so whoever claims the song first gets it. 2, you were offered an opportunity for next Saturday to work with Maya Johnson-Horn about stage presence. And so I need you to decide on that. If the class doesn't make, we won't have the class. This is a free opportunity for you to work with a choreographer, a professional choreographer, for 2 hours and to get some insight. But as I said, this is not mandatory, but it is free. So you should never turn down anything free, right?
No.
And so that is your second task. And your third task is that there is the social media. As the person in charge, I'm always looking at how you use social media. There are lots of times to find out who's advertising the event and who's not. And so I know when you've invited people to come to the semifinals to watch you. And so I don't care whether they say they're coming or not coming. I just like to see the effort. So those are your 3 tasks between now and next Monday. And so thank you, Anthony, for having me here today. And so we look forward to having you at the semifinals.